Hello and welcome to my video review on Transformers Legacy United Sandstorm. Now here he is in his helicopter mode. I'm starting in this mode because I love starting in alt modes because I keep the alt mode for a surprise. But anyway, this figure kind of holds a little bit of special place in my heart because I do own an original. And this guy has definitely seen better days. He is almost 40 years old now. And yeah, he definitely shows. Now, there's a lot of characteristics and like engineering that is copied onto this figure, but this figure is just a lot more refined. What I mean by that, for example, is these wheels. They are cleverly hung up and kind of flatten out the bed here. On the original, it was just a hollow gap in the wheels right here. And this thing rolls good. Now this one can't roll, but to combat that, they added these little trainer wheels kind of things to the bottom here, so it rolls just fine. And on the blades here, you can see how these blades are very frailed out and they don't really lock in place, but they used to. There's these little pads on this new one where they have individual locking points, which I'll show in the transformation. So there's a lot of similarities between these two, and they definitely do look awesome next to each other. The new one is a lot bigger too, but honestly, I do prefer this new one more than the original because it's just better in almost every aspect. The colors are definitely very vibrant too, I would have to say. But enough with him. Let's look at his accessories. And no, I don't have any of the accessories for the original. So we'll start with this cage thing. And it comes with a... Nope. There goes my epic reveal. It comes with a string. It's hard to pick up on camera. There we go. When is the last time we got a winch with a Transformer? Like, that has to be insane. Like, it's been a while. I don't even know a Transformer that has a winch. And the fact that they're doing it now is just incredible. So this is an amazing accessory. And not only does it look cool and work awesome, it integrates into the figure itself very well. And I'll show you what I mean by that later. Also comes with just his generic blaster. A little small, but it still works just fine. Speaking of small guns, we have this little gray blaster. I don't know why they included it. I don't know if it's in the show or what, but it is there. Now bringing it back in, you can hook this up to the helicopter mode here. And what I'd recommend doing is removing this and putting this on the side because A, it looks cooler because you're not going to see that inside here, and it's easier to remove. So there's just a little 5mm. It goes right into there, and we can just plug it in if it would want to go in. Now, one thing I have realized with this figure is a lot of the 5mm ports seem to be a little tighter than most other figures. But if you want to, you can have him dangle it around like so, which is pretty cool. And of course, these propellers are nice soft plastic, so they won't break. Let's get this back out of here because it's really annoying to keep it in there. It does not want to sit flat, obviously, with it. And this is what I mean. If you put that big block on there, you have nowhere to grab, and it's, for some reason, a lot harder to get out. But there we go. Yeah. And, of course, we have the back prop here, and this spins as well, which is originally separately packed, which I will show you why in the future, aka when he's in robot mode. So that is pretty much it for this guy in his helicopter mode. Nothing much else to say, although his windows are all painted black, unlike the original, which are blue stickers. And there is a lot of really nice details, and there's rivets all over this thing. And this beautiful silver lining paint, which just looks awesome. And the bottom ain't the cleanest, but neither was the original. So, yeah, this is amazing, especially for what it has to do. Now, we will transform the original. So, to transform this one, you just fold out these blades here. You push this down, bring this over, come over to this side, open these up, bring these down, and then push in these arms or legs, and there you go. And also you can bring that back. There's the Dune Buggy mode, and that's the original. Very simple. Now for the new guy, it ain't quite that easy. So what you're going to want to do at first is just condense these blades, and they can be really tight at first to get to do what you want them to do, but eventually they'll soften up and be more malleable to move around. Then you're going to want to open these bay doors up, and you want to push right here, and that will pop this whole section over. And then make sure you have this aligned so it can go through. And then we're going to slap this little piece and bring that up, and then just rotate this whole thing up just to get that out of the way for now. Next, what we're going to do is untab these arms and just move them to the side here. Then we are going to bring these wheels out. Now, when you're doing them, there is a little tab on one of these sides that goes into this gray section right here. Now, there's only one tab on each side, so you got to make sure this is rotated in the right direction. Now, it doesn't really matter which way you have, which one's up and which one's down. For some reason, it just never sits perfectly with mine. I don't know if I'm just not doing it right, but it is just kind of a thing for preference and how you like these configured. But then continue transforming this thing. Just bring these all the way down. And then what we're going to do is take this tab, and it's going to go right into here. It's a lot of black, so sorry if you can't see it. And we can just tab that right into place, just like so. Now, moving on to the back section, what we're going to do is undo the front here. Now, when you're putting this back, you're going to want to make sure you configure everything right. There's this on a double hinge. You got to make sure it's just right, otherwise it ain't going to be happy. Next, what we're going to do is take these little flippy outy bits and bring them flippy back in. And then we can rotate these sections here, which is a new step on the transformation, as well as those flippy outy bits, like that. And we can just do the same on the other side. They are quite stiff. They're just on mushroom pegs. So I would imagine those might pop off in the future. I'm not 100% sure. But then we can just collapse these all back up. Now here's the cool part, and kind of the annoying part. So when I was first transforming this, I could not figure out why nothing was lining up, and I could not get this to work. This whole section, this head assembly, and you pull it out, it's on like a double accordion hinge, and I kept putting it like this, and I could not get it to work. You have to push it all the way down, which can be really tricky, and you have to make sure it's all the way down, or the wheels will get in contact with it, and it will not turn, or nothing's going to line up, and you can't transform it. I didn't read the instructions, so I had to figure that out myself. It took me a little bit. A little longer than I'd like to admit, but I figured it out nonetheless. Now, for car mode, normally on the original... Sorry about that. Anyway, on the original, his head kind of formed the engine block and kind of filled in this empty hole, or space. And on this one, we can bring back his head so it completely hides. And this is how they got to make it more animation accurate on the head sculpt. Instead of having to put the engine block on there, they have it on this intersection. So you can see all these awesome engine details here, which is awesome. It would have been cool if they would be able to paint it in silver or, better yet, chrome. But for where else the budget of this thing has gone, that is fine that it's not. As long as those details are there, that's really all that matters in the end of the day. Now, we're going to bring these pieces out right here, and we are going to, well, I guess we could now rotate this up, and there is a little tab that's right here, so each one has a little click, so I recommend just kind of feeding them in one by one, and then making sure they all tab in, just like so, and then we can just move on to this last bit here. You can fold up this little chest piece or the cab, and then make sure this piece is folded out, and then we just push down, come to the sides here, and then we can tab in these arms, which is a little peg here, just like so, and do the other side just like the same. And this figure has very cool integration with his hands and arms here. How this kind of just forms the side here, and this front panel kind of fill this all out, and there's like this great pattern all over it, which makes it look super cool. And I remember someone saying that this thing's gonna be a heavy shell former, and the robot mode parts aren't really gonna be integrated. I couldn't say anything else that would agree with that. This thing is pretty much the opposite. Every part on this figure has some place to go in both modes. It's not much of a parts former or shell former whatsoever. Now, also, you might be noticing is these tires are a little flexible. This figure comes with rubber tires. Oh, 1 second. Almost forgot. Got to split that for the little spoiler. Yeah, anyway, this figure comes with rubber tires, which is something you never see on a Transformer nowadays. I can't tell you the last time I saw this. The only time I can really think of is Combiner Wars with Megatron having rubber treads, but that's not really rubber tires. The only really figure I have that has rubber tires is the RID figures, and those are from 2001. So 20 years later, they brought it back. There's probably other examples too of them putting it in there, but yeah, when people say this figure is small and it doesn't fit the budget, I would have to completely disagree, because there is so much in this figure that is very premium that you don't get with any others. Now, I do have one problem with this mode, all the positive stuff aside, and that is it doesn't sit like that, it sits like that. I get it. The original one, here's what I'm saying here. Original one, flat. This one, angled. Like, I don't get it. Oh, also, one last thing. Make sure you push that up, otherwise, and fold this up here, otherwise it won't be sitting flat. But look at angled, flat. There's a big difference there. And it just looks awkward, because it's just, like, unlevel here. And that toy guy made the reference that a lot of Doom Buggies are angled like that, but it just looks so awkward right here. But to make it look a little less awkward, you can bring in these accessories. And there's really only one way you can do it. So we're going to want to roll up the winch here. And, of course, I just didn't do it, but you can put the weapons and stuff on the helicopter. There's just 5mm ports on these two arms here that were on the side of the helicopter. I didn't do it because it really doesn't do anything, and you've seen 5mm ports everywhere on figures now, so it's nothing cool to show off. But this figure, I'll put it all on all the accessories on here, because there's kind of a way you need to do it. But moving along here, we have the winch, and this time we're going to plug it right into there, which is the same port that you'd plug it in for the helicopter, so I think that's kind of cool. We use the same port there. Quite clever engineering. Then we're going to take this part, that was the cage, and we're going to slap it on there. Now this has to go this way with this bar on the back, because these front bars jut out more than these back ones, so it needs to be like this or it won't fit. Now this activates, like, or not activates, kind of enrolls in like a roll cage, and it kind of covers the engine up, so that looks super cool, and it kind of completes the look too. It doesn't make it look as crappy with the angle, makes it look a little bit better. And don't forget, they didn't forget about this part. What you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to move this all out. And the cool thing is the hinge that controls the arms is completely in line with the hinge for the legs. So whenever you're putting this piece in, it just completely makes it super easy to do and super satisfying. Now what you're going to want to do first is plug this into the 5mm port here, and there's two pegs on the either side, and it has to be oriented like this. And then you just slap those things right back on the side, and now you have all of that integrated. Now if you want to add the weapons, you might be like, where's the 5mm port? There's one. That is right here. But of course you're saying, well, there's 4 right here. Let me show you something. You put this gun here, it's not going to fit anywhere or look good. The only way it's going to fit is like this, but then you have that problem where it's not going to roll anymore. And you really can't put it anywhere except for this spot. So this little gun here has to go down here. You can put it in any of the 4 spots, but you cannot put it anywhere else. It has to go on the bottom, so it's kind of not seen there. I don't really know why they included this weapon. It's cool, and I do it and dig it, but it's not 100% necessary. Now, speaking of rolling, this figure, if I can get these wheels aligned, this one's not wanting to be nice today. 1 second. That is one thing you want to be careful of. I just had to kind of undo everything because this was orientated wrong. there was a part in here that had to be swiveled around, so this whole bar would be like rested like this, but it had to be flipped over, and then there's another joint here that had to be flipped. You gotta make sure you're doing that, otherwise it won't roll. But now you do this, and it rolls like crazy. Like, just give it a little push, so it's barely anything, and it rolls super nice because of the pinned wheels and, of course, the rubber tires, which make these things spin for a really long time. And it's got some heft to it, too. So, bringing back in the original here, you can see it's a lot smaller. This is the only mode where I prefer the original, just because of the angle of it. And it's not the prettiest on the back, even though it is completely accurate. I mean, I'm talking about the engine, I'm talking about the bottom back. So, I think the original does this mode just slightly better. But that's just personal preference. I could totally see someone liking this mode more than the original mode, or liking it the best. And also, one other thing I want to add is there's these nice detailing here that is like the cage, or not, the webbing that they have instead of windows, like on NASCARs, and I guess dune buggies have it too. So it's nice they added those details and didn't just make it completely flat. I do appreciate that. And of course, we have this beautiful silver here too. That kind of breaks up all that black in the front. So that's pretty much all I have to say for this mode. Now we will get on to, not combined mode, robot mode. But of course, we're going to start with the original. And for this guy, all you have to do is slot these out, push this up, turn around the head, make sure these are staying back, bring these up and around, fold down the arms, and there you are. There is the original Sandstorm in his robot mode, and he likes to do this. He likes to squat like he's taking a potty or something. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. His slider joints are just completely given out, and ever since I got this figure, it just goes like that. Nothing I can do about that one. Now, the new figure, we'll get into that. I do have a concern with this figure, and it's a big concern, but we will get into that once we get to it. It will be very shortly. Anyway, we're just going to remove all of the accessories that were on this figure. So that is all the cables, roll cages, and all the guns. Just remove all that. Now we can get into robot mode. So to start, we will just untab these arms. We will do the legs a little bit later. We're just going to get this upper torso done. So what you're going to want to do is bring this forward and bring this hinge up. And then you're going to want to push it back. And there's a certain spot where you want to rest it, kind of like that, where you get like a little zigzag, like a Z. And you have to have this in this exact configuration for it to work. And then you're just going to bring this up and then push it in like so. If I can get this, there we go. Push it in, and that will lock everything in place. Now, I do have a few people that say they have a problem with this untabbing, which isn't a big deal because when you have it in here, in order to prevent that, you just hold it like this, which is kind of a natural way you hold it, and then pose the arms. So it's not too big of a deal that that pops off really easy, but it is a little bit of an annoyance. And also, we can bring this up like that, close that up, and then we can bring these arms cavities out and fold out the hand, and then on this double hinge we can bring it out all the way. But I don't really like it like this because it kind of gives it a little weird look to it. So I like to just kind of put it one click forward and kind of have it parallel like that. So let me just do that to the other arm as well. Open up the little arm cavity, bring up the hand, close that back up, and of course his chest comes undone again, but it's just super easy. Just push right back in. Now here's where I have my biggest scare with this figure, where I'm most worried about. The sliding joint here. Now, it's nice to go from this mode, or from robot mode into vehicle mode, because in here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's the slider joint, and there's little pegs poking out where that pin rests in the alt mode, but oh no, the other mode has it too. But I was worried that when these keep going back and forth, is that these are going to get very worn down, and this thing won't be able to support its own weight, kind of like the original. Now, it might be 40 years before that happens, like the original, but, or maybe not 40 years, but like 30. but still not a big deal, but it probably could happen a lot sooner, especially if there's a kid that has it and plays with it a lot. So just something to be worried about or cautious about. Not a big deal, not a deal breaker, but just something I want to throw out there. Anyway, and then we can just bring these up and we can fold out the feet, make sure they're nice and flat, just like so, and we are done. There he is, unless I forgot about something, but I did not. So we will raise the camera up real quick. And there he is, Sandstorm in his robot mode, looking all adorable. I like that face. It is a toy accurate face more than an animation accurate. The animation had like a mouth, which this having this kind of face is a little interesting, especially considering the head isn't toy accurate. So I don't know why they didn't go all toon, and I kind of wish they did, although the mask is kind of cool, I have to admit. Now some people might say that these legs are just a little ugly with how these are done, and they're kind of hollow here, and these jut out, but the original did do that a lot better, but there was other sacrifices like in the helicopter mode where these tires kind of jutted out on the original, so it is a good trade-off. Now, this piece right here is removable, so if you didn't want that jutting out like crazy, because it does kind of look weird, but the original does have that as well. So I keep it on there just because of the original toy's sake. I like keeping it like how it would look with the G1. So there he is, and I will go over all of his articulation. And at the head is a little interesting. It is extraordinarily tight on my copy, but it can turn, of course, as much as you're going to need with these giant backpack. But that is accurate to the show and the toy, so it's not a big deal. And we can bring it down. Can look up about that far. Not much of a wibbly wobbly. Kind of goes back and forth, but not really. Now, with the transformation joint, you do also get a butterfly joint, so you can go out, which is always appreciated. Of course, it doesn't go in, which is a little more useful, but still, nonetheless, it's nice. It can do that. Also, we have a full 360, of course, at the whatever the upper part here is called, the shoulder. Jeez, I could not think of it. My bad. Anyway, it goes out pretty much 90 degrees. We have a double jointed bend here, so we can get quite a bit of articulation there. And at the hand, we have a wrist swivel, and it can kind of move in and out due to transformation. And at the waist, it's just a mushroom peg, which is ridiculously tight, except for when it kind of juts out. I don't know if you can see it in here, but the mushroom peg is on this giant like slider almost, and it doesn't really like to sit anywhere nice in here. I don't know if this is part of the transformation when you slide it back and forth, but it gets really tight, and then as soon as I move it, it pushes it forward. So I don't know why it's like that, but it is. It's not a big deal, but it's just a little weird. At the legs, we get a really nice and tight and smooth kick up about that far, and it can go back around that far. Outwards wise, we have 90 degrees. Of course, we have a thigh rotation, pretty much a 90-degree bend. I think it is a little bit less than 90. And at the feet, we have a good 45-ish degree tilt at the toe, and we have no foot swivel, and it can't really go up much at all, but we can go back a lot due to transformation. So overall, this figure is quite articulated and fun to play with. There's not too many problems I have, that being one of them, but I don't really mind it too much. It's not too bad. So let me get all of his accessories on here, get those guns on there to finally show what they can do. And for some reason, his hands are super small with a 5mm port, so it can be very challenging on my copy to get them in. I don't know if it's the plastic they use for it, because it's the same plastic as the little gun, but still, it works just fine. You can get him a nice little action pose here, super simple. And there isn't really much you can do. I mean, of course, you could reassemble this. And when you're reassembling it, you want to make sure you line this up because, of course, it has to go one certain way. And that just clips in, and then you can put this on here. The really only way for him to use it is just to put it in his hand and pretend he's throwing it or something. It's really not integrated in this mode, but at least you can still use it. So I'm just going to leave that off for now. So overall, my final thoughts on this guy. Is he worth picking up for the leader class price point? Sorry. I say hell yes. This is a great figure, although he doesn't want to stand up right now. There we are. Especially considering I own the original, which just makes me love this figure even more. This figure is a huge step up, and we haven't had a sandstorm since like the 30s or something. I wasn't really remembering anything back then. And I think it was like a remold of a siege, or not siege, of a Springer. So this is the first new sandstorm mold since we've had probably G1. This is an amazing figure is what I'm trying to say. There's so many things like the rubber tires, all the gold painting, the winch here, which is incredible by itself. And honestly, this is a pretty much perfect figure. A great release from the United line, and is overall a definite worth of a pickup. Anyway, that's been it for my video review, and see you guys later. Peace out.